In life, there are some things that just go hand in hand. Bread and butter, mac and cheese, anime, and overpowered characters. I mean, has there ever been a more perfect union? What's up, anime fans and manga readers? Today on the channel, we're going to be tossing our 2 cents into a well of an age-old discussion. A debate that has raged in the anime community like an undying fire ever since the medium first rose to prominence. Who are the most overpowered characters in anime? Actually, the real question is usually who are the strongest characters in anime, but oftentimes that discussion just devolves into one of overpoweredness, which makes sense as the characters that are usually brought up in those conversations have abilities that push them well into the realm of being OP. We're talking planetary level feats, reality bending abilities, and galactic scales of butt kickery. The medium of anime already lends itself to breaking the barriers of what is considered feasible according to the laws of physics or even logic for that matter. When you put characters in settings like these up against each other, there's little wonder why we'd end up with some of the most incredibly overpowered characters in all of fiction.
I'd still solo though.
Now, that's not to say other forms of media don't have their fair share of absurdly overpowered individuals. Dr. Manhattan from DC's Watchmen, Jean Grey from Marvel's X-Men, and even Alien X from Ben 10 Alien Force quickly come to mind. However, those characters tend to come fewer and further between than they are in anime, and the conversations around them tend to be less intensely opinionated. Alright, I've been yapping about it for a couple of minutes now, but I think it's time we got right into the business of the day. In no particular order, here's some of our picks for the most overpowered anime characters of all time. Keep in mind that I will not be limiting the entries on our list to main characters only. I may sprinkle a few side characters and perhaps some villains into the mix as well. We'll get the most obvious pick out of the way right out of the gate. Saitama, also known as One Punch Man, is a superhero who can defeat any threat with, you guessed it, a single punch. Aliens, demons, psychics, crab monsters, you name it, one punch and they're clacked out for good. Most of the time. The crazy thing is that Saitama doesn't even have any superpowers. He was just a normal guy who had a bad day at work and beat the crud out of a crab monster in underwear. Then he went on a pretty strict training regimen of 100 push-ups and 100 sit-ups, etc., and in a couple years, he'd basically become indestructible. The air from Saitama's punches has been shown to flatten landscapes and split the clouds halfway across the world. His table flip move was used to lift an entire mountain range off the Earth's surface. He survived being thrown onto the moon, and he was able to leap back into the fight on Earth. The guy's unbeatable, and he was purposely created to be just that. I guess his only weakness are a 30% discount off his favorite convenience store and that damn mosquito. After Saitama, we have of course got to mention Shigeo Kageyama, or as he's better known, Mob. Author 1 has a penchant for developing overpowered characters, and nothing captures that skill as well as his work on Mob. Mob is an immensely powerful esper who lives his daily life as a shy, soft-spoken kid in middle school. However, he's essentially a ticking time bomb as his powers are fueled primarily by his emotions, which count upward on a meter from 0 to 100 and has at times shot up way over that, at which stage it's game over for everyone. No one truly knows how powerful Mob becomes at that stage, and he's already pretty formidable long before he gets there. However, everything we've seen of it is plenty of proof that this kid deserves a spot on this list as much as he did in the video I made for the most powerful psychics in all of anime. If you're curious to see who else made the cut, you can check out our video on that topic right here. Next up will be our first villain entry on the list from a show we don't often get to talk about here on the channel, something we're willing to change. Dio from JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. Most stand users in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure wield impressive abilities balanced by specific weaknesses or limitations. However, Dio, the iconic vampire antagonist, breaks this mold, wielding the overwhelmingly powerful Stand the World. This stand not only improves his melee prowess, but also grants Dio the ability to stop time, making him nearly invincible in battle. When the world activates its time-stopping power, Dio can act freely while his enemies are frozen, and he uses this ability to lethal effect. Dio's dominance in combat was so absolute that Jotaro Kujo, the protagonist, could only stand a chance by developing a similar time-stopping ability with his stand, Star Platinum. Without a similar mechanic on their side, Dio might as well be invincible. We'll follow that up with another villain, this time from one of the greatest fantasy stories in anime and just in general, Berserk. Yes, you called it, I'm talking about Griffith. For a time in Berserk, Griffith was a charismatic and ambitious commander of the Band of the Hawk, renowned for his strategic brilliance and unmatched leadership. However, his trajectory took a dark and horrifying turn when he betrayed his comrades to ascend to the ranks of the God Hand, transforming into Femto, a demonic entity and one of the most overpowered figures in anime history. As Femto, Griffith gained immense supernatural powers, becoming nearly untouchable, maneuvering through the narrative as the fabled hero of his own twisted story. With the late and great Kentaro Miura seemingly on his side, Griffith's overwhelming presence as a character redefined the concept of invincibility in storytelling. Few antagonists have ever wielded such absolute control over the narrative, making Griffith an unforgettable and truly overpowered force. Coming right after that, we have none other than Gojo Satoru. Satoru Gojo is undeniably a charismatic and lovable personality that has already become iconic despite being a relatively new character compared to many on this list. But it's no secret that author Gege Akutami chose to present him as overpowered. Renowned and feared for his infinity-based techniques, Gojo's abilities make him nearly invincible. He can block any attack by creating an infinite barrier between himself and his opponent, as the cursed Jogo discovered firsthand. His domain expansion Unlimited Void overwhelms opponents with infinite information, incapacitating them physically and mentally. Additionally, Gojo can heal any damage to himself with his reversed curse technique, and to top it all off, he is a formidable melee fighter even without relying on his techniques. Recent events in the manga have shown us that he's not quite invincible, but for the most part, he just as well might be. The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya features Haruhi Suzumiya, an eccentric character who appears to be a regular high school girl, but, and she is oblivious to this fact as well, she possesses incredible reality-altering supernatural abilities. She leads the SOS Brigade, a club dedicated to uncovering paranormal phenomena. Haruhi's club doesn't actually discover anything supernatural until her own subconscious powers make it so. Her abilities can warp the fabric of reality itself, creating time loops or alternate realities to fulfill her desires. Some characters even speculate that Haruhi may be an unknowing god. While she doesn't go around throwing hands like a lot of other characters on this list, you have to admit that's kind of insane. Talk about overpowered. With this next entry, we're pivoting back to the side of the villains and to a character that fans of the currently airing 1000-year Blood War arc of Bleach will be all too familiar with. After his initial defeat at the hands of the Soul Reapers, Yhwach returns for another war armed with the overwhelming power of the Almighty. Already a pretty formidable presence on his own, Yhwach's strength reaches transcendental levels with this ability. The Almighty grants him the power to perceive and manipulate all possible futures and parallel realities. With it, Yhwach can predict and evade any attack or shift to an alternate reality to ensure his survival, making him nearly untouchable. It's quite similar to the overpowered Izanagi and Izanami abilities of the Uchiha in the final arc of Naruto, but without the steep cost of going blind. Pretty fitting for a final antagonist, I'd say. This list wouldn't be halfway valid if we somehow concluded it without including a representative from the absolutely bonkers selection of power fantasy isekai anime, where the entire shtick of the show is just how amazing and overpowered the protagonists are. Say what you will about their narratives, but you can't deny that some of them do have some incredible feats under their belts, and perhaps no single character encapsulates this trope as well as Anos Voldigold from the Misfit of Demon King Academy. He was once the Demon King, but he sacrifices his former role to establish peace in his kingdom, and he dies. However, he's reincarnated and realizes that he still possesses powers so immense it defies the very limits of his fictional universe. Anos effortlessly topples the strongest gods of his world, casually redistributing absolute power to those he finds worthy while stripping it from others. One of his most absurd feats early in the series includes lifting a massive castle and spinning it on his finger like a basketball, all without even tapping into a fraction of his true strength. That is just disrespectful, and as much of a guilty pleasure as this show might be, you've got to give this guy his credit. We'll close this list out with the final boss of overpoweredness, and what better series is there for him to exist in than the one that popularized the idea of these conversations in the first place, Dragon Ball. The Dragon Ball franchise is brimming with insanely powerful characters, from Goku to Jiren and Broly, all of which would easily make this list under normal circumstances. However, none even remotely compare to the character I'm referring to. That character is Zeno, the Omni King who rules the multiverse. Even gods of destruction like Beerus acknowledge their inferiority to this supreme being. Zeno doesn't engage in combat, he simply erases his annoyances from existence with ease, be it person, planet, galaxy, or entire universe. It is said that Zeno wiped out 6 universes on a whim, leaving only 12 remaining. His unparalleled ability to obliterate entire universes with no effort secures Zeno's place as perhaps the singular, most overpowered character in all of anime. With that said, we'll call it a wrap. There are, of course, 1,001 more characters across anime that would make a compelling statement on this list, but perhaps we'll get to them another time, in a part 2 of this video maybe. Anyway, that's all we have for today, folks. Do you agree with our verdict? Maybe there are some really overpowered anime characters I left out. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and ring the notification bell to get regular updates on new videos. I make awesome anime and manga content like this every week, so be sure to check them out. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.